You are about to enter the Shockwave Skull Sessions podcast on ShockwaveSkullSessions.com. And now your host, Bob Nalbandian.
So we are talking to the one and only Craig Locicero. Dress the Dead.
That's right.
What is going on? You're the guinea pig, you know? You're the first to enter the... Well, we got
Popping the proverbial cherry in the studio.
Yeah, we got to get a good name for your studio, Matt.
Give me an hour here, and I'll help
you'll come up with a name?
Yeah,
we'll figure something
thinking
out.
about it.
Cool.
So, Dress the Dead, of course, Craig Locicero, Forbidden. That's where I was introduced to you. And, of course, you went on to MANMADE GOD and then SPIRALARMS. Another great band that I had the fortune.
Freedom album is awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you. See that band, and I know Matt has seen a lot of your bands. Did you actually see MANMADE GOD or no?
I didn't see MANMADE GOD. No, I think because I don't even think I was living out here just yet. And
Where are you from originally?
New York.
Oh, okay.
From the East Coast,
Can you tell by that accent?
Yeah, I could tell. Well, I wasn't sure, you know, because it wasn't Boston.
No, yeah,
but it could have
be
been
Patty. You know, it's a different.
Well, I got family. I got family from Rhode Island. And, and New Hampshire.
Oh, yeah.
So,
there you go.
I go back to New Hampshire. I try to go every summer.
Nice. Yeah, it's beautiful. There,
Squam. We go to Squam. You ever been to Squam?
No.
It's nicer than Winnipesaukee.
Really?
It's not built upon like Winnipesaukee. It's not like there's no restaurants.
Oh, nice. Okay, so it's a little more low key.
They
and
have
stuff.
like a blueprint that you have to set your cottage into blueprint.
Oh, cool.
You know, so it's nice. It's just something my great grandfather had bought property there. So.
Awesome.
So I'm familiar. I used to go to Rhode Island every summer when I was a kid. So I know exactly what a mass hole is.
Yeah, I'll say you know what a mass hole is. Yeah,
I know exactly what a mass hole is.
A lot of The New Yorkers, especially Yankee fans, aren't too fond of the mass holes.
No, and even Giants fans. You know, when they go to the Niners games, and the Giants fans were. You know, people want to say Raiders fans are the worst. They're not.
No, they're not, man.
They sit in the top five or the bottom five, whatever you want to do. Top, we'll say top because
you're a 49er guy, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've had season tickets for this will be my 26th year.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, this is part of our tailgate crew.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
This is part of my tailgate crew over the shoulder. So,
Well, you were born and raised Bay Area, right?
No.
I
was born in Las Vegas.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow. Okay.
I moved to the Bay Area in 1983 when my mom remarried.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And she was dating a guy for a long time. And basically she put the screws to him, said, you either marry me or I'm off. Wow. So he's like, all right. and they're still together to this day.
Awesome. Oh, sweet.
Yeah, that's Mel.
Congratulations.
And anyone who ever went to my garage when Forbidden Evil practiced there knows who Mel is. Because he had the train set, and certain friends that I don't know because they never showed me when they did it basically beat up his train set and ruined it. Really? He had like hot air balloons. They punch holes in it. I felt so
Dude,
guilty.
we used to have as a kid. I mean, I remember one Christmas I was 6, 7 years old, got one of those train sets, and now I hear they're worth a ton of money. Those old school trains.
He used to build an entire scene. That's what he got into.
Yeah.
And then right when he got into that, that's when I said, I'm gonna have this band move into the garage. And that was Forbidden Evil.
Well, let's talk about, since you brought it up, that was the beginning of it all. During the Bay Area thrash days, you came. I guess they consider Forbidden Evil kind of the second tier. But when did you actually form?
Well, okay, the real genesis was the name came from our drummer Jim Pittman, who it was a song called Forbidden Evil by Warcry on one of the Metal Massacres.
I remember them.
And he's all, dude, it's a killer name, you know. But before I joined, they didn't. It was a name that they were throwing around with Rob and him were high school buddies. And it was like they weren't sure what they were going to be. They were going to be Inquisitor. They were going to be all this silly stuff, and I wasn't good enough
because I had a Raven song.
Yeah, but I hadn't even played guitar for a year at this point. And Rob and I had met, and we hit it off, and we were good friends. But I wasn't good enough. I just was learning. And then later on,
well, you're a couple years younger, right?
I'm 2 years younger than Rob. Okay. Yeah. Which if you know how old Rob is, then you know. Yeah. But
back then that was a big difference when you're like 16, 17.
Huge.
2 years.
2 years is huge.
Which brings me, and I'll just keep moving quickly for you, which brings me to my next thing. So as the 15-year-old that I was, and still, hanging out with Rob, I had another drummer, Sean McMullen, who was really good. This kid could have been great. He was playing great double bass. We were doing Venom stuff and Slayer stuff in my garage, but he also had a temper and he used to throw sticks at me. I remember that very distinctly.
Drummers are like that, man.
Well, I was also, anyone who knows, I was cocky and a pain in the ass. So he and I eventually came to like a crossroads, and I'm like, I got to get with somebody a little calmer, And then Rob reached out to me just ironically and said, hey, man, you got to see this new singer that Leroy found. Leroy was the guitar player that played with him. well, okay, yeah, I'll check it out. He's like, yeah, we got this bass player kid who's a little younger named John, and we went to watch them play. And I walked in the garage, and there's this white-haired guy, not red-haired guy, white-haired guy, looked like
Edgar Winter.
No, dude. No, dude. He was. Russ was like alien to me because I could tell he was a ginger, but he was like he had white bleached hair that was kind of permed out, and I was
like albino kind of or something.
No,
this is Russ.
Just red hair.
They're
Okay.
talking
This is
about.
Russ we're talking
Yeah,
about.
Russ.
You know Russ is a ginger.
sure, of course, yeah.
So but I could see he had ginger tendencies, as they would say. So I was like, wow, and then Rob's just like, I'll never forget. He looked at me, it's like over by the washing machine. He's like, dude, wait till he opens his mouth.
Right.
Okay. So I sit down, and they went into Hellbent for Leather, and Russell did one of his air raid screams just to open up with duh, wah! He did the whole thing. I was like, I've never seen anyone do that at my age, let alone like only Rob Halford could do that with that much power. I'm like my young, innocent, no wisdom, naive, everything new. That dude's special. Holy shit. Yeah. I've got to be in this band. Like right then, I've got to be in this band. So I watched them play. They did their songs. They did just covers like Am I Evil and Hellbent for Leather. I don't remember anything. Maybe they did Restless and Wild. And then Rob had this instrumental called Egypt's Fallen that they were messing with. That's but Russ didn't sing. He just did a scream on the halfway point or something. Because he was brand new. It turned out Leroy had found him in an ad.
Right.
Put up an ad in BAM. Because they were desperate, and then this guy shows up.
BAM and Recycler were the big,
yeah,
down
dude.
south.
So the band was a recycler of the Bay Area, pretty much.
Well, BAM was Bay Area music. It was music.
Okay.
It was our biggest thing we had going. They'd have like the back section of BAM, which was a pretty big. It was like 11, maybe 13 by 9 or one of those ones. To make a long story short, which could go longer and longer. I knew I had to be in this band, and then Rob and the other guys went to go get cigarettes or get something to eat, and I was left with me and Russ. And I go, "Do you mind if I play guitar?" He's like, "Yeah, go ahead." And I went into Balls to the Wall, and I used my thumb. I was getting pretty good at that point, much better than I was the first time I played with Rob. He starts singing it, and we go through it, just me and him. He's all, "Dude, you're way better than Leroy. You should be in this band." I'm like, "You tell Rob. You let Rob know." And then the rest is history. Like, a week later, they moved into my garage, and it was the right place at the right time. There was no grand design, dude. It was like just the guys getting together, jamming, but we had chemistry. Rob and I especially,
right,
and Russ too, obviously, had real chemistry. And the drummer was Jim Pittman. He came up with the name, but there was no Forbidden Evil yet. We were still throwing around names, and what was one of the names? Warhead or something like. I remember Russ made a Warhead shirt. I think Rob did too. Just ridiculous stuff. And I'm like, why don't we just go back to that Forbidden Evil name you guys were tossing around?
That was Warhead. I don't know if you remember that new wave of British heavy metal band, More.
Yeah.
They actually had a domestic album on Atlantic. Their first album was called Warhead. And they said More, Warhead. I'm thinking Warhead was the name of the band.
Well, hold on. I was incorrect. War Witch.
Oh, War Witch.
Even cheesier. Just horrible. So, you end up choosing the right name after all. And they had it. It was sitting there. Rob would say, "Well, we formed before you got in." I'm like, not really. You guys are throwing names around, and I brought it back. So we've had this conversation, laugh about it today. But so that was the genesis. That was in the beginning of 1985.
Okay, that early on.
Because we played our first show at a house party in March.
And you guys were just in high school, right?
Yeah, I was 15. Rob would have been a senior about that point, and Russ was the guy buying us beer.
Now, we were talking when we saw Forbidden in Chico, when you had Gene Hoagland over. Was that 2008?
Yeah.
Okay, that was 2008.
It was right before the Death Angel show.
That was awesome, man. Just
out of control.
Yeah, that was killer.
Gene was very unhealthy at that point.
Yeah, I didn't even
He had
realize
the diabetes.
that.
He was getting cramps in his body. He didn't know what was going on.
Dude, he still played drums like a
Forbidden
motherfucker.
We ran through drummers there'd be physical ailments. To this day, he'll say, "I've never had more pain than when I played with Forbidden."
Wow.
Because it's just harder stuff to play.
Yeah,
it's not maybe as many time changes, or it's just incredibly stamina-driven stuff.
And it's funny with Gene because he plays with such ease. You would never know because his arms and feet are just going like crazy, and he's just kind of expressionless, like he's like, "Oh, this is simple." It's kind of like when Uli Roth plays, you know, he doesn't look at the guitar. He's just kind of, you know, in his own, and it's just like unbelievable. It's like, damn. And that's,
Gene's a part of his instrument,
Yeah.
like in the same way that Uli is.
Totally. Yeah.
And they're both like two of the greats.
Absolutely. Wow. And then I remember about a year before you played with Spiral Arms out there. Now, was that with Chris Contos on drums?
Yeah, that would be Chris.
Yeah, that was an awesome show.
You were at that?
I was at that.
Holy
too.
shit.
I didn't think I knew you then, but yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, a lot of people didn't put the connection.
That was in Chico. I think
I'm one of the few guys in our out of our scene that could do what I wanted to do and actually have a little bit of success doing it. Like I know other guys tried, and you know, people would just stick them in a category like, well, you know, you got to do. I still get it. Like you should be doing Forbidden, like very little, but people know better than that now.
That's what I think is cool about you. And
stretch out.
Kind of leads to Dress the Dead is very different from all of the bands that you've kind of been in. I mean, the first time I actually saw you was with Uli, the great Uli, last week, and an awesome show. And
thank you.
You know, and I didn't really, I had heard, you know, oh, it's a little bit different, and you know, some of the metalheads are like, well, it's kind of different. I go, well, I like that. I love thrash, but I like a lot of different. And like I said, I loved all your projects you did, the Spiral Arms, and you know, I think that's cool that you diversify. How did the whole? Now you were familiar with the singer from what was?
Well, I know the band, the Witch Mountain.
Right.
I know who they were, but I think the stuff. I think she wasn't in the band yet.
They had another
right. Yeah, they had another singer, and I think that's. I have a couple of vinyls. It was really good. Yeah. So at first, when you got her, I was like, oh wait, is that the singer from them? But I realized it's Kayla's a different singer. But
again, we got.
How did that happen?
We got to go backwards to go forwards, because what happened was, like a lot of bands, Spiral Arms didn't break, and we had an opportunity to, but it seemed like forces from within were resisting any good breaks that would come. It became a real grind, because essentially there was a couple guys in the band that resisted anything that was good that would have come from my avenue, because they were resentful over Forbidden and metal, and they had this attitude about it all. So every time we'd get up to a certain thing, it would just get knocked back down. So that kept going on for years. And when I did the Forbidden reunions, it was met with much resistance. And that was when Contos was in the band too.
Right.
And Chris and I have just had a great conversation about this since he's been back in Machine Head. He came to realize certain things about that just as of the last month. You know, he's like, really? Yeah, really. So essentially, there's always like this grating negativity going against any progress. And if it was subliminal or on a level that people weren't realizing, that could very well be, you know, because human nature is to not quite understand what's going on when it's going on and looking back at it later. So there was always that. And towards the end of it in 2015, we recorded an album at Eric Kretz's studio, and it hasn't come out. It might never come out. It's fucking great. It's with Andy Gallion on drums.
Now, what band is this with?
Spiral
Arms. Okay.
So, you know, we did an album, and then we did a show at the Rock Bar the day after New Year's, and there's 500 people showed up, and it was like
the old Rock Bar in San Jose, right?
Yeah, 500 people showed up to see us.
Yeah, and I saw you guys up in Toots that one time when you guys were playing with House of Broken Promises and stuff. Right. And that was awesome. I mean, I was like, especially now because, well, at least then about 4 or 5 years ago when all the quote unquote the Stoners stuff was kind of coming around again and really starting to take off. I was just like, I thought it was just a matter of time when you guys are just going to start taking off, and then I was kind of really disappointed. I was like, wow, you guys have split up, and it was just like, you know, just because you guys really, I mean, for a long time it took you to really get that kind of going, right? You'd been doing that for a long time.
It's been a long time.
Right,
we gone on for probably about 4 or 5 years too long, but came up with Freedom in that time. And came up with, you know, this new album I'm talking about. We'd started with it started with 3 guys from Man-Made God. So it was Steve Jacobs who was with me in Forbidden, right? That was one version, very experimental, and Tim wanted to really be in Man-Made God. He was ending Systematic, and he was hoping that we'd do Man-Made God. But what happened was, and we were thinking about having him just be the singer, and I'd sent some demos to Rick Rubin, and Rick just didn't vibe on Tim. He just didn't vibe on his voice.
So you were working with Rick before that you had the singer situation.
Well, I was working with Man-Made God. We did on American.
Right. But I mean, before you actually got the band together, you were working with...
He was interested in anything I was doing. Okay. He wanted to see if it was something worth signing. See, the thing with Man-Made God is that he wrote in the contract that I was a key member and our singer was, and for better or for worse, really for worse, Rick didn't care about the rhythm section. He was not concerned. He's always you two, and then those guys, which was unfair because those guys were great. But
Well, you had a pretty big following with Forbidden too. I mean, you had a lot of major label interest. I
yeah,
remember we
but
talked
hold
about
on,
it at that time.
You stay on target.
Okay.
I'm pointing right at Bob right now. Stay on target. Let me get to.
Well, I'm just reminding the listeners.
Yeah,
that
no,
you
yeah, we
had a
did.
name for
No,
yourself.
Forbidden had its thing. It had its moment. You know, there's a lot of buses that were right there that I didn't quite get on. So anyway, with Spiral Arms, it was a number of drummers, and that's what I'm trying to get to. It was Steve Jacobs, then it was Paul Bostaff sat in for Steve when Steve had shoulder problems. Then Steve gets back, and then he blows out his shoulder again. Then it's Eric Kretz. Then Eric Kretz was with us, and we were.
I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were about to get a record deal and sign a huge management deal with Andy Gould, and then my bass player who I'm with now decides he needs to quit because he was having his second kid and his whole life was up in flux. So he refused to do anything. So Eric's like, I can't go through this whole bass player search. So he had to step out. Then we got Chris Contos. Then we had Chris Contos for a number of years. And then when I did the Forbidden thing, that all turned into drama. Once I left on my first European tour, and by the time I came home, everyone was spinning out of control. I was like, what happened? Like, they all just freaked out because the implications of Forbidden taking off freaked them out. I said, dude, I'm here to do Spiral Arms. Right. I told them, everyone in Europe I had to do an interview with, I'm all about Spiral Arms. I'm just doing this one time.
So when did you form Spiral Arms? So that was during Forbidden.
2004.
Okay.
2004. Tim and I got that going. It was first, like I said, going to be Man-Made God, and then it just, once Rick didn't get into it, I had to switch gears. You know, like, let's be a new band. So we went from Contos to Ron Radine, who I don't think you saw Ron Radine. He was our next show, great drummer. And then we did European tour, made a couple records with Ron, fantastic. And then Ron ended up getting fired, not by me, but by Tim. He had health ailments and other things going on. Then we got Andy. That's when I thought the band was its best. I thought we were the best. That's what you saw us. And Andy, myself, and Brad, our keyboardists, were always lockstep. And then the guys with the beards had a different view of the way things should go. So when people would see us live, it would be like these two guys on one side and these three guys on the other side. But it sounded great. Like, it always sounded great. So I was really disappointed that we didn't get that album out.
It's a great album, man. Well, I mean, the Freedom was, but you're talking about the one that you said that you have.
Yeah, Freedom's good. Freedom's a good one too. Here's what happened though, and the other part of it is that when I was doing the Forbidden thing and I came back and then we almost broke up. I came back home, we almost broke up, and then Tim and I reached out to each other and said, let's have dinner or lunch and talk. So we decided we're gonna, give it a shot. I said, well, you know what? Your whole freaking out thing propelled Forbidden. Like, it's going to happen now.
He literally freaked out, or was it like
they were freaked out? Wow. They were all freaked out
because the band was becoming too successful, or
they didn't want anything to stop what was going on with Spiral Arms, which is ironically funny because really nothing was going on.
Right,
but it was like, oh, you're going to screw it all. It was, people do this. Yeah. I don't necessarily blame them either. You got to understand, like, you can look in retrospect and see all these little parts in history where people overreact. And if you just would have just held on over here, then it would have worked out over there. And it just, that's kind of what happened. And he agreed, let's get back together. But this is him, but I'm going to take over on the songwriting because you're busy writing this Forbidden stuff. I said, you know what? That's cool, man. He's all, I'm going to pivot it more towards stoner rock, which you saw. I said, well, that's interesting because we weren't before. We were just
it's a rock band, right?
We were a rock band. We were heavy. We were, there was something. We were really melodic. We had our own signature. So then once we switched into gear, being a stoner rock thing, I kind of had to take a step back and said, well, if I want to play with these guys, this is what we're going to do. So we just became, I called it Stoners That Rock. I didn't want to be stoner rock.
I got you, totally. Well, it's that,
I'm
it's
a stoner
that label,
that likes the rock,
sure.
but I'm not a stoner rock guy.
Yeah.
But those guys adapted this whole stoner rock persona.
That was a big thing.
It was at the time, especially. It was really peaking. I think more.
I'm not much of a trend hopper.
Yeah, well,
people
no,
like to say,
sure, yeah.
I don't. I've never had.
Yeah,
so
what you're saying, yeah.
But but it was a team effort, and we wrote some good stuff. And Freedom's a great album. So there you go.
Yeah,
that's how
people are going to classify it whatever
they want to.
Yeah,
anyway. Exactly.
But I got at this point, I got no ill will. But that's essentially how it all kind of like got built into something and fell apart way too late. Like we probably just shouldn't have even gone on beyond Freedom. When we did Europe with Scorpion Child, it was
oh wow.
Some of those shows were great.
Yeah,
but Scorpion Child wasn't drawing.
Oh really?
No. There's a few shows where there's a few, and I liked them a lot.
They're a good band.
But they had a lot going on internally too.
Didn't Monty sign them? To
Yeah,
write?
yeah.
Monty
Yeah.
stood by the Monty will stand by a band for better or for worse.
He will, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good thing.
and he'll
about
also have a prejudice against a band for better or
Oh,
for
yeah.
worse.
I've
Yeah.
seen it.
He's caught a lot of boats and missed a few, but yeah, Monty, I have great respect for Monty.
Well, let's fast forward now to Dress the Dead. Talk about
Okay.
now
There you go.
all right.
Back it up. So at the end of 2016, it just seemed like after that show, which was great, we did the show at the Rock Bar. We had 500 people there came to see us. You realize we could be the next thing out of here
Because of Spiral Arms.
Yeah, Spiral Arms. Nobody draws in the Bay.
No,
Nobody.
absolutely.
They don't, unless you have an album out and you
It's so
play
tough.
once a year or something.
Yeah.
So we were at that point where we were next, and then Tim kind of dropped off the map for a little while, and I finally got a hold of him. I said, "So what's going on?" He's like, "It's run its course." I'm like, "So
Did you have management? Then?
We did.
See, that's where
I don't want to say anything about it because that.
Well, I'll just say I know so many bands that go through this where every guy in the band has his own, and you get a little bit of paranoia. We should be doing this. We should do it. And that's where it really takes a good manager or producer or someone kind of outside the band to hone things in together and say, look, this is, we got to,
There's a guy.
unite the band and get it.
There's a guy who would take credit for doing a lot of things for Spiral Arms. Mm-hmm. And that guy is the one who basically sunk the ship, but he wasn't a manager. He's the one who brought us a manager. Mm-hmm. So it was already tainted by the time the manager came into the picture, and I wasn't aware of all this. But I thank these guys. I really, truly thank them all, because everything that came out of this is me realizing I wasn't doing what I should be doing. I need to have my own voice. I need to write my own songs. I need to have this vision. And I expected to do it with Peter Dolving, from The Haunted, who I just think is tremendous. I think Peter's great. I've been talking about making music with him for years on the side. When Spiral Arms broke up, my intention was to jump off with Peter Dolving and find the right musicians.
Now, did he move here? Because he's from Sweden too, right?
he was living in Denmark at the time.
Denmark.
Yeah.
And you just knew him just through...
I knew him since I saw him. I mean, I've been a fan of The Haunted for 20
they toured
years.
with Slayer, I think, didn't they? Or
They toured with a lot of people, dude. They did a lot of, and people really liked him. And Peter was special and controversial and said things that I was like, fuck yeah, someone said it. He knew how to rile people up.
Right.
But also, by the time I got a hold of him, and we talked about this, and he agreed to do it, and he was listening to music, he was at a crossroads of his life where he had back problems, he had knee problems, hip problems, he got titanium in him at certain points. Like, he has kids that he can't see because his wife keeps him away. But he got really excited, and we wrote great music together. And he came out and recorded, and we had Rob record him, Rob Flynn. Right. But as soon as I told Rob, hey, Peter's going to be our guy, Rob toured with Machine Head too. And Rob goes, wow, that's risky. So I hope that works out. But he's great. Right. But then when we got the demos from him, it was great. And then when he came here and recorded, it was incredible. It was like some of the best stuff Peter's ever done. And 1969 was, in fact, my music and Peter's lyrics and melodies. And that's the song most people know from us now, with Kayla, right? So when he did it, the reaction was, that's really cool, but what's this Swedish guy know about our problems? But Peter's way more aware, and
Sure.
So fast forward, he had to go. He basically bowed out the weirdest way on Facebook, but it's because he had to quit music business. Mm-hmm. He just couldn't. His head couldn't wrap around the business.
Was it physically?
Physically, he just knew that people were going to depend on him. Yeah. And he felt the pressure of people wanting to hear more music, like labels were getting involved. It happened so with Peter and me together. People wanted to get involved quickly. Sure. So all of a sudden, it was real. It went from an idea to, oh my God, this is going to happen so quick. Guys in the band are excited, to Peter going, I can't do this. And he quit on Facebook. On Facebook?
Wow.
On Facebook. We found out, we
That's
woke
what
up
everyone's
one morning.
putting their news on Facebook.
Peter's very open, and I love him. I will not say a negative thing about him, but that was threw us for a loop. And we didn't know what to do, man. It's like Icarus, man. You've seen the sun. You saw how good you could be. Mm-hmm. But yet people weren't really not everyone could relate to him. But the songs were great and they knew it. Right. But they weren't sure, what this Swedish guy, and there was a weird thing. So it was going to take some time. But then I talked to Rob that day. He's like, dude, Peter quit on Facebook. He's like, what the fuck? He's like, dude, he quit on Facebook. He was mad. He's like, you should fucking bury him. I'm like, I don't do that.
Yeah.
I'm not burying him, dude. I love that guy. And he was pissed because Rob we're talking about Rob Flynn. He put in a lot of time producing us.
Sure.
You know, loved the band.
And you guys played that show at Slim's, right? Right around that time too.
Two before that it was December of 2016.
Okay.
So we played the 2 nights with Death Angel. They asked us to play both nights, and that went over really good. But again, some people were like, "It's genius," and other ones are like, "I don't know about that guy." It got like a weird. He's controversial. They weren't sure. He threw on a bra because some girl took off her top and threw it up on stage, and then he took off his top and threw on a bra. And I said, I remember looking at that. I turned up and I go, "That fucking rules." No singer I've ever had would do that, but Peter Dolving. I was like, yes, 'cause I thought it was great. So it was a great thing, and it just disappeared. So we had to dig deep, and we were looking for singers, and there was just nobody for 8 months. Nobody. People that were good, that would have been good for other projects, but once you have Peter, it's like, you know, you're gonna have to show them what to do. You're gonna have to and then almost a year to the date that I saw Witch Mountain open up for the Skull and St. Vitus.
Oh, wow.
I get a
Tell us
text.
Eric Wagner from
I get a text from a girl named Kayla who I didn't know, but I saw her at that show. And the funny thing was, I walked into the venue and people are like running up to me, "Dude, you've got to see this singer." I'm like, "Oh yeah? Yeah, it's a girl. Oh my God, she's unbelievable." I'm like, "No shit." All right. So I go get a water. I walk around the corner and I look over. I'm like, "Oh, it's a girl. She's black." Okay. I kind of walk closer because there wasn't a whole lot of people there yet. And I'm getting closer. I'm like, fuck, she's fucking, wow. I'm like, she's got power. And then she's going through the crowd. Have you seen them before? Yeah, have you seen her?
I haven't seen her, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got a
She'll stare you down. You saw, she'll stare people down.
Oh, yeah.
She'll look right through your soul. And she was doing it one by one, just staring them down, staring them down, staring them down. And then she gets to me and she sings a line to me and looks me in the eyes. And then like gives me the nod, like, "Yeah, fuck off," and then moves on. I'm like, she's going to be a fucking star in somebody else's band, but not this one. At the time, I didn't think that was her. I still think she'd do great in Witch Mountain, but I thought there's something else for her. Just didn't think it would be with me. I had Peter Dolving. What do I care? You know? So that's really where it was at. And then I get this fucking text, man, and I'm like, no fucking way. And I felt like my drummer was going to quit. I felt like Mark was finally fed up with the whole thing and searching. And I talked to her for a little bit that day, and I said, "I'm gonna send you some songs. I saw you play last year. I think you could be great." So I sent her music, and I got really excited. And then we went to rehearsal that night. We had rehearsal, and I show up at rehearsal, and the guys walk in, and I'm all, "Before you say anything, before anyone says a word, I got something to tell you." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Well, I talked to a singer today. I saw this singer," and I told them the whole story. I saw the singer. I saw what they did, and they blew my mind. And I thought they were going to be a star. But here's the catch. I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "It's a girl." They're like, "Oh." And then I looked at them, and they all held their hands up. They're like, "Really?" And they all had goosebumps. They're like, "Really?" Because, nobody expected that. And I go, "And here's the catch. But she's black." They're like, "No fucking way." Because we're all very, like, open-minded. And,
sure.
Not everybody's open to this idea, dude.
Right.
As great as it seems, it's like one of those things. When you see it, it's like it makes perfect sense. But to other people, are like, "Well, that just seems like a lot of fucking shit to deal with." That's how some people think. These guys are like, "Wow, it sounds better already." Oh, and here's the last thing. She's only 22. They're like, "Oh, now it got
that young.
Now it got a little weird." Like, like, whoa, And I said, "Well, I just sent her some music." And then Mark's like, "Dude, I was going to come in here tonight, and I told Jimmy on the way over I'm going to have to walk." He's like, "But this is exciting. This is fucking exciting." Well, it is exciting. Let's watch some video. We watch video, and they're just like, "Oh, what the fuck?" Like, wow, I wonder how she'd do with our stuff. She sent me stuff 2 days later. She sent me 1969. She sent me a song called Promises and Kisses, another thing called Knives Out. She wrote stuff. She had stuff for other songs. She already had like all this plethora of everything we've done with her stamp on it. And as soon as I heard her sing 1969, I just I threw my phone down because it was on my phone. I was like, "What the fuck?" And then I picked it up again. I shot it to Rob and I said, "Just check this out." I didn't say anything. And then 5 minutes later, Rob's like, "What the fuck?" Did he call me? He's like, "Dude, where did you find her?" I'm like, "She found us, man.
Was she a fan of yours? Forbidden or Spiral Arms?
She's someone, one of my friends named James Jim McCullough had told her about us and said they're looking for a singer. Check it out. Send her the link to the video. She was tripping on it for months. She's a Dolving fan already. She'd heard of Forbidden. It was still a new band to her.
And she's still in Oregon, right?
She lives in Oregon. Yeah,
Right.
she lives up there, doing plays and she does acting and TV and some stuff in movies. But anyway, so basically she was scared. She was nervous because she's like, first of all, Peter Dolving is like really important to her. She's like, I don't want to have people hate on me because of this. But when she sang 1969, and this is you're going to see this a year from now, project a year from now, this conversation, whatever life that song has now doesn't matter. Because a year from now, when this fucking election is going down and people are even more at each other's throats and getting on edge about everything, the lyrics that Peter wrote coming out of her mouth and her understanding of where they're coming from, being a young black girl in this fucking world, it is a completely different fucking thing. And I knew it as soon as I heard her demo. I was like, holy fuck. Whatever Peter did, he wrote it for her. And even Peter says, holy fuck. Whatever I did, dude, he's like, that's written for her because he's a fan. You know?
Cool.
Everyone's a fan, dude. Anyone that really understands the importance of what was being said in that song coming from her means so much more. And that's going to, you're going to see that in the next year. When our album actually comes out, that song is a calling card for making the same mistakes, making the same bad decisions as a society and not really growing. It ain't 1969 no more. So why are we fighting the same goddamn war? Same fucking... It just made so much. So when you see her sing it, dude, it's ferocious. It's like,
oh, she's killer. Like I said, I saw her with Uli, and it's surprised. Have you seen? You haven't seen the band yet?
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen.
Yeah, because I've been wanting to see.
We're playing here at the.
You're playing soon, right?
Concord.
Yeah. Concord, yeah. Vinny's, right?
Yeah, Vinny's, which is kind of cool little place, but it's our first headlining show. So,
and I'm surprised you said how young she is, but you mentioned that she does acting and TV. I could totally see that presence. I mean, when I saw her live, it's like, wow,
it's a wow.
This girl is pro. She's, I mean, not just the way she sings; she's got an incredible voice, but her stage presence. You mentioned the way I mean, that takes experience on stage for someone to look you in the eye and just have that presence and kind of like, wow,
it's that. And she's born with it. So, and she's highly intelligent. She's wise beyond her years. There's times where you realize she's young. Most of the time you're like talking to a grown woman, 99% of the time. Not to say that she's like immature, but she is fucking only 24 now. So this is just facts. You could say and shine it in multiple different directions, but she's 24. We're in our 40s. It is a big difference. And sometimes you don't realize it, because I got a lot of young friends and friends that are females, and you start talking about stuff, and just automatically you're kind of on the same level because you got the same intelligence. And then you talk about stuff in the 80s, and you remember, they're like, dude, what are you talking about, Bob? I wasn't even born then. It's like you totally forget that. Oh shit, you're like half my age. But you do. And most people, you eventually come to that crossroads in the conversation where you're like, oh yeah, we can't relate.
Right.
But with her, because of her experiences, and she played with Witch Mountain, and they're older guys too, and her and I have the intense conversations about how to look forward in the crystal ball to like what I'm talking about. Like when things are coming, prepare yourself for the questions you're going to get, because people are going to dig into her. They're going to try to find her weaknesses. She's a target.
You think now in this day and age?
Yes.
Well,
yes, because there's always going to be someone.
There's always going to be
someone.
Angle.
We've gotten a lot of sexist comments and the racist stuff.
But those are all probably all stupid.
I think a lot of it too is
blabbermouth kind of.
You now have this. You have this thing now where I guess it's almost become like a sort of a genre, a subgenre that's female fronted. Like it's not about a metal band; it's just female fronted. At the same time, what does that really mean? It's just they don't even talk about if it's metal or hardcore punk. It's just female fronted. So it's become almost. I don't know if you've noticed that. That's become like this.
I've noticed
big thing.
Hashtag. I picked
It's
it up for her, because out of respect for the fact that it is. I mean, there's just certain things you can pretend as much as you want to that it isn't what it is. You can act like there's not going to be any issue, and in great proportions there won't be, but you're always going to run into those people.
Controversy is always good. You're always going to get that with with metal or anything, especially with someone
Yeah.
like you that's got a history with being in Forbidden and all that. Everyone's going to judge, and not just about the musicians, but about the music and everything. Everyone's going to have their say. People are going to look at it, I mean, most people, Craig Locicero, the guy from Forbidden, they're going to kind of expect something in advance. And
Well,
if it's not to their liking, that's just the nature of the business.
It is. And I always say this, like, we can sit here and I won't rest on that, dude, because quite honestly, whatever gravitas or what's the word I'd be looking for, legacy or whatever I got, she'll fucking trump that, for lack of a better term, soon. Like, whatever I've got going on, that girl's a star. Like, I'm the songwriter. When I say songwriter, she writes too. Right. We all add, but I come in with the riffs, and really, no matter what I have, I fully expect that to get completely dwarfed.
Yeah.
By just the reality of who she is, what she's got to say, what she has to offer.
Well, that's cool. That's
I welcome it, dude. I if you would have found me some 45-year-old guy who's great,
right,
or a guy like Peter who was, just about to turn 50 at the time, it's cool, but to be given the opportunity to do something vital and that matters way more than what you've done before.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not throwing any extra heap of praise on this. This is just, these are
It's always
facts.
good to have a different perspective as a musician, someone that's that young and female and that has a whole, because, like you said, when you're talking about a 20-year plus difference, it is a whole different generation.
You've lived twice as much life as her.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's good to have kind of a fresh, I mean, you learn so much, especially when it comes to, social media or just about, there's certain things that younger generation, and they're just, it's more enthusiastic. A lot of musicians that have been around for ages, not saying that you are, but a lot of them get jaded. And once they get in their
Most
40s
of them
and
do.
50s, and especially if you've been in bands like, and I've been telling these guys, I've been telling Matt, it's so refreshing to see you still going at it. Like, you were one of those guys with Forbidden. It was just, with every band, Forbidden, Man-Made God, SPIRALARMS, it was just, you were just a little too late in the game, I think, with a lot of that stuff. But it was so good, the stuff. And it's like, but it hasn't hindered you. Most people will just say, fuck it, and I think it's great to see musicians still going at it and that still have the enthusiasm. It's not just, going through the motions, and you're still coming up with new ideas, fresh ideas, writing music. You're not just, all right, let's just be a cover band and just do a tribute thing just to make money, or
Yeah, I'm
whatever.
not good at resting on my laurels.
Yeah.
I'm really not good at it.
awesome.
And if I was, I would have, because, Nuclear Blast has offered it many times. Why don't you just find another singer and do Forbidden stuff? And I know that'd be easy. But then all of a sudden I turn into John Schaefer's Iced Earth, like Craig Locicero's Forbidden. And people already want to look at me in that way. We're like, oh, dude, he's a fucking
Would you
egotistical
ever
guy.
work with Russ again, you think?
Oh, yeah, no, I would totally work with Russ doing a show or
Sure, you
a
could always
group of
do
shows.
festivals in Europe
We've all-
every few years
but he stopped. He stopped, and it's up to him. And we just recently reached out, dude. Speaking of Kayla, speaking of Russ, the other day, about 2 weeks ago, in the middle, like 10 o'clock at night, I get a text from Russ. I hadn't really heard from him on the phone, other than email, in a long time. Basically saying, dude, just checked out Dress the Dead. Your singer's phenomenal. You guys are going places. He's like, you're going to blow up. Mark my words. That's my text I hear from him. Like, wow. Russ never said that about SPIRALARMS. Never. He had exactly the opposite. What are you doing with that band? He's like, that was just his attitude, not my attitude. I was all gung ho. But yeah, I was like, really, Russ? I'm like, really? He said, oh, yeah, post that on Facebook. Well, you want me to say that? He's like, tell him Russ says. So I did. People are like, first of all, he's live. Second of all, he said that. That's what he wanted. I mean, I love Russ, dude. He was like, he bought me beer for fucking God's sake. Russ, we've been through everything. It was weird because we had a weird relationship where I was younger, but in some ways he would take care of me. I would take care of him. He had a cool childlike attitude towards life that carried through to the end, of the band. But when we were flying back from our last show and we did the Metal Fest in Chile, it was like 10,000 people, and Forbidden was one of probably the top 3 reacted to bands. So you're talking about like Exodus, Testament, fucking Creator. Like people love us in Chile, dude.
Right. I bet. Yeah.
Us and Destruction get this crazy high level of excitement. Smear knew. He's like, oh yeah. I'm like, I didn't know. Fuck, I didn't know. They freak out because we're kind of the undergrounds. But anyway, we flew back. I'm in the plane, and Russ was drinking a lot, and he just says, man, He's like, you just really need to fucking just do Forbidden and stop doing all this other shit. And I said, dude, I'm not going to, you know. And we just came to a point where I said, he said, I'm not going to do whacking. That was what I said. I'm not going to do the whacking. We just agreed to do whacking. We turned it down like 5 times.
Really?
In a row.
Wow.
Or 4 times
Forbidden.
in a row.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And they had us in one of the tents, but it was whacking.
Sure.
And he said, I don't want to do it. I'm like, what do you mean you don't want to do it, dude? We turned it down 4 times in a row, and this is the 5th time.
Was he nervous or intimidated?
Just didn't think it was enough money to make it happen.
Really?
We had to fly in on a weekend and fly out the day after. He's like, it's just too much. I just don't feel like it. I'm like, dude, Russ, if we turn it down, dude, we've already canceled the whole tour because our drummer bailed on us. Right. You know, we had an entire tour, and Mark, who I play with now, his wife put the screws to him, and at that time he had to bounce. In my mind, I can't defend this band over and over again, pull a fucking elephant up a hill, and keep flaking out. Yeah. So I just said, if you decide not to do whacking, bro, I'm kind of done. And that was the moment I told him. And then when
that's
we
the problem. Like I said, older bands and stuff, you know, older musicians that get a bit jaded, it comes down. I mean, and I understand a lot of people our age have family. They have a wife and kids, and it does come down to finance. And, you know, if you can't do it, it drags down the band. And that, again, is what's great about having someone young and vibrant in the band that doesn't have those issues, and it kind of
it helps.
It definitely helps.
That one ingredient of that younger musician.
And I don't want to be negative toward people of our age, but it is true. If you're going to be in a rock and roll band, you got to have. I mean, to succeed, you got to still have that youthful spirit and that attitude. You know? Take what happened with Forbidden. Like you said, it was just a little late. And when I first agreed to do stuff, I saw Get Thrashed at the premiere, and I sat next to Zetro, and Zet was pounding me on the leg. So, see, Craigie. He's like, you got to do it. I'm like, But I walked out of there going, you know, fuck, I'm going to call Paul. And that's what I did. I called Paul, and Paul was telling me for years, we got to do it. We got to do it. This is Bo Staff. And like a reunion.
Yeah. He's like, he's like, dude, people want us out there. You know, they want to see us. So that was the whole genesis of it. And then talking to Russ, like, he's like, yeah, like, let's check it out, you know? So, but what you realize, and Paul got the offer for Testament, and he had to not do it. Right. Because they offered to do Formation and Damnation. He's like, they're going to need me, dude. He's like, I'm sorry, but I can't. That's why Gene came aboard. Okay. So Gene ended up coming aboard because of that. But what I'm getting to is what you see is when these bands reform like that or kick off again, look at Testament, look at Death Angel. They fucking work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you want to be successful? To do that, you got to fucking work at it. And you know, the level that Testament's at now is due to doing it over and over and over. The level that Death Angel's at is due to going over and over. I seriously believe we would have been at the same level, probably between those two.
I agree.
Somewhere between those two, if we would have crushed it.
I think the last album you did, the Omega Wave, when did that come out? That was
2010.
Yeah, 2000. So, God, that's already been almost 10 years. Damn. But that was killer. And you know what? I mean, great music. And I was saying this about the thrash bands.
Crushes, dude.
That's amazing.
It's a great album.
You know, you mentioned Testament, Death Angel, Exodus, Anthrax, Megadeth. They're all putting out some of their best records. I mean, you take a lot of these classic rock and metal bands and 80s rock and metal bands, and you're looking, and it seems like they're just putting out new records just to tour. There's no real integrity. The songwriting, it's not, you know, because they know, okay, well, it's not going to sell. We're, you know, what's the point? Let's just put it out so we could get it on a label, and go out and tour. And
they're putting out records just to tour.
Absolutely. I think the thrash bands,
but the thrash is different. Yeah,
is, you know, there's still a lot of creative input in the new songwriting, a lot of integrity, and
that first one's always something, right? That first one back is always something. So, you know, you could, it's arguable like to what level of quality each one of those records is and what level of quality it maintains.
Right.
You know, it's hard to maintain one high-pitched, high-frequency hum, you know, through the entire process. But I can tell you that after what happened with SPIRALARMS, getting back to that story and the way that those guys made me feel, I fucking went into writing Omega Wave with just... Dude, I had ferocious drive. You know, Russ and I sat down and worked together with ferocious drive. Mark Hernandez, who ended up being our drummer, who I play with in Dress of Dead, we locked in. We were getting together at least 2 times every week. You know, we were trying to. I said, we're going to write the most fucking metal record that I could even imagine. Like, we're not hiding the metal.
Right.
We're going to be so fucking metal. You know, And it was fun. It was really fun.
So do you feel you were held back with Spiral Arms? Like you didn't have the freedom to kind of do what you wanted to do? Or
I did at first because it was all my music. Like when Spiral Arms started, it was old Man-Made God stuff and new stuff I was writing. And Tim was learning my language. Because I have a different way. We're talking about guitar is a different thing. The way I play guitar, completely different than my peers. It's just a different way of going about it. Okay. And what I did in Man-Made God basically was very different, which set us apart. It's what Rick liked about what I did. So that was just a different thing. But yeah, when I came back after the Forbidden thing, you know, Tim's like, I got these songs, do your thing. And he would try to really harness what I did for better or for worse, not always worse. Okay. Sometimes for the better. Sometimes maybe I would have been over the top. Sometimes over the top's where it needs to go. You know, so it's, you know, but yeah, with Omega Wave was freedom just to fucking rage. Ironically, freedom being the name. But I did everything I wanted to do, and I chose Tim to help produce it with me.
Okay.
So Tim was my co-producer. Never really enjoyed the process. Never.
And that's always a tough thing too, right? You're co-producing with your own band member too. I mean, I
tried to make him feel better.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Quite honestly, he's a good producer. He was especially good with drums and vocals. Guitar, he was lost. Too many notes.
Did you ever work with Rick as producer? Did Rick Rubin?
Rick Rubin
produce
he produced Man-Made God album.
He did do that. Okay.
Oh yeah, he was very involved. Where people like,
was he actually involved?
Yeah, yeah. Where people say Rick never showed up, or Rick, dude, we'd spend days at his house.
Well, that was still Deaf American, right? Or was it?
It was American.
It was American, okay.
And that was just a timing thing, I think, with Man-Made God, right? In terms of
that's
how the trending right thing was, kind of, because it was sort of, I think it was around what, early 2000s.
It was,
right? Yeah.
We started out as very experimental with a different singer, and Mike from Level, Mike Sullivan, way heavy. I tell people it's like finger painting was shit. It was cool, but we didn't really have any direction, and I wanted to just find out what we were going to sound like. So, but once we got our singer Pan, it was like really quickly that Rick Rubin and a bunch of labels came. A bunch, dude. We had everybody knocking on our door. You know, that's a whole story unto itself. But working with Rick, for me, was a pleasure because he liked what I did and he never made me change. For everyone else, he started with the drums. He wanted to straighten them out. That was a problem. Because as soon as you fuck with the drums, then the bass follows. So those two guys went, into the studio. They were just like, it's all going to be different. They were not mentally equipped at that point of their lives to go change everything. But he just said, Craig, do what you do. And then once that changed, then, you know, then the vocals came. And so there's this whole process. But here's the thing. Everything was good and life was great. And we had a huge record deal. Spent almost $1 million making that album.
That was a big deal when you said
it. It was a fucking huge, and every management company wanted us. We were won in a poker game by Rick Sales.
That actually happens. I've heard that. Yeah.
I didn't know what was going on. That's a whole other story. But I'll just say that the reason why it didn't hit is because when we were doing the record, Columbia did a split from American, and Columbia.
It became Geffen, right?
No, it was Island. Def Jam bought up Columbia. So the Island, not Def Jam, but Island did. It got split into two. And Columbia went one way,
right?
And then,
so that explains. Yeah.
But here's the thing.
But wasn't it? I think it was because of the Slayer album that one of the labels didn't want that caused American Records to split with Sony, or
not exactly. Okay. Not exactly. It was because there was a big shift from Leo Cohn to L.A. Reid, and there was this big movement with these moguls doing different things. But essentially, Columbia, all that Columbia got was System of a Down. Okay? And everything else went the other way. And all fucking Island wanted was Slayer and this new band, Man-Made God, that everyone's talking about.
Did Slayer go on to Island?
Insane. Like,
okay, I'm thinking of before when it was through Geffen.
Island Def Jam was a different thing. And then we came along years later, dude. Right. When Rick approached this, it was like, I'll never forget the day we went and showcased. They flew all our gear down to L.A. to showcase for him. We were in a room with Rick, and you know we play our set, we fucking crush it, and I go outside. I'm talking to Rick. I'm like, you know, I was very honest because I didn't care what label we were on. We had all wanted us. I'm like, yeah, you know, I mean, it'd be cool to be on your label, but you know, all these other labels, I don't know, like. What do you got? Like, it really hasn't been great since the Black Crowes. This is the stuff I said to him. Like, honestly, I'm like, your label hasn't really done anything since Black Crowes. That's really like, what's going on? He's like, I agree. He's like, you're right. I'm like, yeah, maybe we can help you. You know, maybe you can help us. Maybe we can help. He's like, you're right. We should get a deal done. So that's kind of how it all happened. Wow. Then he's like, you remind me of Gene Simmons. I'm like, that's not a compliment. He's like, no, business-wise. He's like,
yeah.
That is a compliment business-wise, right?
Yeah, I'm like, oh, everything else is fucking a diss. But I was wearing a Gene Simmons shirt at the time, too. That didn't hurt.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, so like that's how that relationship started. And it was an exciting fucking time. Like,
Now, was Rick Sales actually managing the band?
way later. He's the one who won us in poker. We didn't have anybody managing us except for our friend Cole was handling stuff, and every label was courting us. Well, Eric Kretz helped us from SDP and hooked us up with Eric Greenspan as a lawyer. Okay. So Eric negotiated our deal, got us an incredible record deal at that time. But we didn't have a manager. Except for Cole, who was handling it, we were looking for a manager. So everybody was after us. We'd have people in our studio all the time.
Even at the time you signed with American, you didn't have a manager? Or
Yeah.
Really? Wow. I'm surprised.
That's the strength of the band, dude.
Okay, that's
awesome.
awesome.
It is possible. If a band's great, and we were great, at that point, before things got bad, we were great.
Now, were you working with Debbie Abono back then?
No, she was super proud of us for doing this for me. She was so proud to watch that happen. She's like, oh my God, you've broken away from Forbidden.
Yeah,
that was incredible to her.
Yeah.
What happened was we had all these different managers, and we got chased down by every single fucking one at some point in L.A., and we met with them, and we went to their places and did all this shit. And then one day I get a phone call from with Doug Goldstein. Okay. Don't know who he is.
Guns N' Roses?
Guns N' Roses.
Then? Yeah.
So, hi. Okay. We're going to make so much fucking... This is me picking up the phone. My ear. Hi, we're going to make so much fucking money. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Well, who the fuck are you? He's like, Doug Goldstein, Guns N' Roses. I'm like, okay. He's like, I got your number. He's like, I know you're looking for management. He's all, but fuck all the others. He's like, come visit me. Come talk to me. I'm like, oh, smooth talking motherfucker. I was like, whatever. But then I met him, and we all liked him. We're like, he's
down
actually
in Orange County. Was he then?
He was living up in
Beach?
Malibu. He had an office in Malibu.
Gotcha.
And we ended up, especially my singer, ended up vibing on him, going, I love Guns N' Roses. I'm personally not the biggest Guns N' Roses fan, but I was like, well, that's interesting. But what about this manager, that manager, this manager, that manager? It's talk about Andy Gould. And I saw Rick Sales at a Slayer show, and he talked my ear off for like 2 hours about how much he loved our basic tracks because he was hearing them from Rick Rubin. And I'm like, really? And then he was with Paul Bostaph at the time, and Paul's like, oh, in the background, don't do it, man.
Was Paul in Slayer then?
Yeah, he was in Slayer. It was when they played that night at Universal Studios in 2002.
Okay, I was at that show.
I happened to be there, and I was hanging out backstage with him all fucking night. But I didn't think he was going to be my manager.
Right.
So anyway, we end up meeting with Doug, and then we have a big meeting with Rod Smallwood because Doug was with Sanctuary at that point.
Oh, okay, that's right. They did.
They merged.
Yeah.
And that kind of sold us. We're like, okay, Rod Smallwood, Merck McAudelys, who's in charge of like a thing. We had this meeting, and they looked at us like we were going to be the thing. So we end up. This is what's funny. We end up agreeing to working with them with all these other people, and then the day that we agreed to work with them, I get a phone call from Andy Gould saying, "Hey, mate, sorry, it's just not going to work out." I'm like, "Oh, okay, no problem." He's like, "Oh, okay." And then I go with my friend to the Rainbow, who was in town, a Bay Area guy, and we show up to Rainbow, and all the managers are out in front by the heat lamps. Everyone we talk to.
Knowing that you would be there, or just on a whim? Yeah.
Well, Rod Smallwood knew because we said we'd meet Rod.
Right.
Turned out all of them were there.
Word gets around.
Weird, man. No, word didn't get around yet. See, here's what happened. This is all fucking for the history books, dude. So I'm like, hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm like, oh, weird vibe. Rod was like, oh, yeah. Everyone's like looking at Rod like, why is he so chummy? And, Rick Sales was there. Everybody was there. Everybody, dude. And it was the big table,
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay. And then across the table, Andy Gould's, oh, yeah, mate, sorry, that I had to say no. I'm like, oh, no problem. No problem, dude. It's all worked out. He's like, you went with the right place. I'm like, did we? I'm like, yeah, who's that? Because we didn't announce anything. He's like, you went with him. And he pointed to Rick Sales. I go, no, we didn't. We went with him. And I pointed over to Rod Smallwood, and he's like, and I didn't know what the fuck that meant, dude. I didn't know what the fuck that meant. I just knew it was like
this
weird.
was the poker game that happened.
That wasn't the poker game.
No? Okay.
This was post-poker, and I didn't know what happened. Fast forward months, and Rick is stonewalling Doug Goldstein, Rick Rubin, stonewalling him, just not giving him what he wants. And, Doug's one of the guys, you don't fuck with him. He'll hang you out of a window, but you don't fuck with Rick Rubin either. So he was just not getting anywhere, and the management, Sanctuary was getting pissed, and Like, we can't get this done. We can't figure out when this is getting finished. We can't get a date. We can't.
So Rick Rubin wanted Rick Sales as your manager, correct? Because I know they're tight with Slayer.
Wait for it, Bob, because it's coming.
Okay.
This is all the moment. This is the moment where I realized what the fuck had happened.
Okay.
So I didn't know what was going on. And then in the meantime, my singer was getting super pissed about, Doug Olsey not getting shit done. He's like, we got to fire him. So like, fuck, man. So I flew down to LA on my own dime, met with Doug. I said, Doug, dude, this isn't going well, man. This is like, they're stonewalling you. So you're right. They are stonewalling me, but I'm going to work it out. I promise I'll work it out. I come back, I tell the band, they're like, the singer got pissed that I went, but I did it for the right reasons.
Sure.
So then the management, the Sanctuary says, we'll have another meeting. Let's get everyone down here for this meeting. And we met at that one hotel off of Sunset that everyone goes down. It's like you go down to it. I can't remember the name of it. But
what's it? The French name? What is that?
Chateau Marmont?
That is it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we go in there, and I walk in, and I see Merck talking to Rick Sales. And I'm like, oh, hi, Rick. He's like, hey, Craig. I'm like, hi, what's going on? Hey, he's at Merck. So I'm just going to be a minute. I'm just having another meeting with him about something. I'm like, oh, that's weird. And Pan's with me. He's all, that's weird, man. That's weird. So he gets up. Rick walks away. He's like, hey, I'll talk to you later. I'm like, okay.
This is Rick Sales.
Rick Sales.
Rubin. Okay.
There's a lot of Ricks.
Yeah.
And, Rick squared. Anyway, we go sit by Merck, and then in comes Rod Smallwood. He's like, hey, jolly Rod. Like, hey, what's going on, mate? So I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, what's going on? And then in comes Doug, and he sits down. And then Merck just proceeds to berate Doug. Just, a grown man talking to a grown man like that. I was like, whoa.
Wow.
I'm like, he's just failing on this, failing on that. He couldn't get this done, couldn't get that done. Your band's too good. Everything's a bit this and that and this. So what we've done is this. And then Doug's all, hey, am I the elephant in the room here? Like, you guys are talking about me like I'm not here. He's all, well, hold on, Doug. You had your chance. I'm like, whoa, this is fucking power play shit. This is like boardroom meeting stuff that I just never had seen before. And I'm like, what the fuck's next? He's all, well, we've decided to, what did they say? They swallowed, or however they put it, up Rick Sales management. And the only thing that they want from Rick Sales management is Slayer and Man-Made God and nothing else.
Wow.
I'm like,
that's where you should have pulled a Mike Muir. We decided. What makes you think we decided?
I did.
You decided.
Bob, I did. I said, fuck that. And Rick was already gone, so luckily he didn't see me do this. I'm like, you don't fucking make this decision. I'm like, this is, I don't trust Rick Sales. I didn't know him at that time. He is actually not a bad guy. I know he's got some things that people, but getting to know him over the years, like, it was more our fault than his that it didn't work out. I really know that. But we didn't give him a chance, and I flipped out. And
but the point is, you're treated like merchandise, like a product. The band, welcome to the music business.
Well, he had to
pretty much, yeah.
He had to win us over,
Right.
He had. I said, we're not agreeing to this until we all meet.
They just assumed you're going to be like, oh, cool, right? Like we're
You're
so the moral to the story is,
that guy.
Don't play poker with Rick Sales if you think you're going to win.
Yeah, I didn't even tell you. So I'd heard they had these poker games for years, and they bet big things on hands. So what ended up happening in retrospect was that they had a poker game, and that day that Andy Gould called me was the day after the poker game. And Andy Gould was like, I'm out, because he lost us in a hand of poker to Rick. Right. Rick's like, I got him. And then we go, no, we're going there. And so everybody was like, what the fuck? And then over time, that's what happened. Like, they pulled all these fucking moves, and then these huge business moves happened, and we're no Slayer. Slayer's like a thing, but we're the thing that's supposed to be the next big rock band. You know?
Right. And Rick didn't really handle anyone except Slayer at the time. That was like his exclusive.
Well, he had Machine Head.
Oh, was he
before
then?
that, I think, and then he also had Systematic was Tim's band. And then so it was ironic. I got together
Dokken
with Tim
for a while, which was kind of odd. But I think he started out as Dokken's manager. Yeah. Interesting. Well, it's funny how that, because I had heard stories back in the day, about labels like Geffen and Island, and people said, oh, I thought you guys were going with Geffen. Oh, well, we got on Island. I go, what happened? We lost in a poker match or something. And I'm thinking, and I go, I guess that stuff actually does happen.
Well, evidently all these guys get together, and then some things are off the table, and a few drinks get in them, and other things get on the table. We can only project. Like, you're not really in the room. I just put two and two together, and I figured it out. But I didn't figure it out in the moment, but I knew it was just really strange. So that's the kind of like stuff you come real close to. And the reason the band didn't really break is because between all that stuff and us being on tour for a year, our singer got really disappointed, and he was getting pissed that it was taking so long. So when they finally pulled us in for a meeting, and our album was supposed to come out on X date, and they're going to push it back, he flipped out. He said, they said, we can't put it out without proper, you have to have a setup. He said, well, you got to put it out sooner than this. So he kind of pushed them to putting it out sooner between the date that they originally had and the date that they wanted to give us. And then in that time, you don't have, how are people going to know your album's out in the store?
Yeah.
What are you going to do to make it fucking known to everybody that you passed out 100,000 stickers on tour?
Yeah.
Saying it's a certain date, and then you have this change because there was a big label switch or a big parent company switch. So we didn't allow them to do their job, and we were disappointed when we found out we only sold 5,000 copies the first week. You sell 5,000 now, you might chart.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's huge right now.
Like,
the label's
Yeah.
shit, and what's especially for a major label.
Plus, exactly. The magnitude,
We wouldn't, my singer, he was really into Tool and stuff, and integrity, like integrity this, integrity that. He wouldn't allow us to be in video games, wouldn't allow us to be in movies, wouldn't allow us to be in TV. I'm like, dude, how is anyone going to know who we are?
Yeah.
You want money? I always told him, I go, if you have a shitty song in a movie, that's a shitty song.
Yeah.
You got a good song in a movie? That's a good song. You got a good song in a shitty movie? That's a good
the
song
other
in a
thing.
shitty
It's a
movie.
shitty movie, yeah.
But it's a good fucking
song,
song. Yeah. So I'm like, this whole thing, like, is just your shoot.
You never know, though. I mean, some things that you would think would never take off, and it does. And like you say, a lot of it is timing. And movie, they think, this is going to be. It's got some big actors. It's got Tom Cruise. Oh, it's going to be huge. And the movie ends up being a flop or whatever. And you never know.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But in retrospect, and to get to the sum of the whole story is that, yes, it sucks when you aren't really in control of the thing. But I can tell you that looking at Rick Sales now, looking at the way we went into it kind of prejudiced, I think Rick would have been great for us.
Yeah.
I think if we would have allowed him to do his job, him and Kristen, because Kristen was our day-to-day.
Okay.
And Kristen Mulderrick, and she's fucking great, Who's she got now? She's only handling Ghost, Mastodon, and fucking Gojira,
Wow,
It's like, the trifecta of three.
They're still together, her and Rick, though, right? It's still through.
Rick is the big guy, but
Right.
she does all the day-to-days.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't say she was green, but she was younger back then.
Right.
But she was lost. She didn't know what to do with us. Like, I can't get this singer
Rick's-
corralled.
Rick Sales, I mean, this is kind of a funny thing. I remember this is probably early 90s or maybe, early 90s. Rick Sales and Rick Rubin had a management company called Peter Grant Management.
I remember that.
Which I thought was funny because Peter Grant, obviously, Led Zeppelin's manager. I'm thinking, I'm at first thinking, was this something that Peter Grant formed and licensed it to him? But I guess they just named it Peter Grant Management,
Yeah, I don't
which
know,
I thought was
man.
funny. But I don't know if that was kind of a joke, or if they were they actually working as a management
Can
team?
you
'Cause
just
it's
say
kind of-
yes to all those questions?
I would
Maybe.
think it would be, to be a label owner and a manager. I thought, wow, this is kind of a weird thing.
My experience with Rick Rubin was good. I actually liked him, and I regret that we didn't get to work more together. But I understood. He said, if you ever get together with Pan again, we'll do it. But once we got together with Pan again and did reformation stuff, it was like, do we really want to start from under $800,000? Right? No, it's just no.
Yeah.
We did some reformation stuff, but it was short lived because it just wasn't meant to
But
be.
you know what? It's a great experience. You experienced and you learned from it.
I learned so much shit, dude.
Absolutely. And
That's why this new situation's like Kayla is literally the great equalizer, because whatever I've had ever going on, any of us in any musical capacity, having her and her whole demeanor is like, fuck, it's such a breath of fresh air, dude. You're not going to find that. You're just not going to. And the fact she wants to play with us and write these songs, and
Well, and she's living up in Portland still, right?
yeah,
she's still
it's an hour
close
away on a
enough.
plane.
Yeah.
It's nothing. And we don't need her here.
Well,
4 days a
she's
week.
in another band too, so she's. I mean, right? She's still
doing,
right.
She's going to be doing a play all summer. She's
Wow.
going to do Into the Woods.
Wow.
She's playing one of the evil stepsisters.
Cool.
But that's not the whole summer. But that's like a month of rehearsing and a month. But she's still available 3 days a week, regardless.
Wow,
of that.
that's fantastic.
And so, what do you guys got? Any tour plans or a record?
People are offering us festivals. They were offering us stuff this year too. Next year, I anticipate us having the record fully finished and recorded by the end of the year and out in the beginning of next year. And people put out albums hella quick nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, you could have just done it, but this band deserves to do it right. And that's the way I view it. And I don't know if it's like an old school deal or we may because there are already deals being kind of being thrown at us, and you know, today nothing's great. Like
it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, it's nothing.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
like
ball
you,
game,
you literally could start your own fucking label.
Well, absolutely.
Get the investment and then just pay for distribution and outside marketing, and then all of a sudden you're fucking in the mix.
Yeah.
It's literally labels. You don't even need.
You don't need them.
Label.
Absolutely. And I gotta say, man, I mean that Uli Roth show. What a great show and what a great bill. But you know, someone like an Uli Roth that has hardcore guitar fans. The fact that you won over that crowd.
Crazy, right?
Was pretty amazing.
I mean, I play guitar.
I've seen other people open up for, you know, Uli and the Michael Schenkers and that kind of stuff, and it's a tough.
I've opened up for Schenker many times.
Yeah, it's
my eyeballs are on my fingers.
Right.
But you know, I'm a songwriter primarily. You know, I was kind of like, what's that crowd going to be like? But as it turned out, man, they were fucking killer.
Dress the Dead. So what else?
Well, the record that you said is going to come out, right? And
I just
end of the year. By the end of the year, you said.
Yeah, I just think we're doing it right. I think we're being smart about it. To have rushed and tried to throw Kayla into the fire, like, and just say we're going to have an album out by X date, huge mistake.
Right.
You know, so like this band had time to grow.
Yeah.
It's still growing. We're not done.
The band comes to your town, Dress the Dead. Absolutely. Check them out.
Definitely, yeah.
And that was the only show you did with Uli, right? Or did you do a couple?
Yeah, the only show that he had an opener on his entire tour.
Oh, wow. And he does a huge, I mean, he did a 2-hour set, hour of his own stuff, then an hour of Scorpions.
Yeah,
Plus, he did a VIP
3-hour set, I thought.
Wow.
I thought it was a 3-hour.
For a 7-year-old guy, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's so fucking, and he's just the coolest guy
I think it's one of the
ever.
greatest guitar players still performing between him and Schenker. And Blackmore isn't nearly as active. He's not out touring, and he'll do a festival here and there. But Uli's still out touring in a bus and doing it old
small venue, and right?
Yeah, I mean, fuck.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He runs a really cool, I want to say a tight ship, but they're loose. They're
and
cool.
a 6-piece band he's touring with too.
Yeah,
great
they're fucking
band.
amazing.
Unbelievable.
Dude.
The whole band, young guys, and again, I think that's what inspires him too. He's got these, you know, I mean, when I say younger than him, they're probably in, you know, our
30s,
age, or 30s or
They're
40s.
They all loved us.
Yeah.
That whole band.
Oh, yeah.
Evidently, the next night when they played in Sacramento, the band was still talking about us.
Oh, really?
Oh, nice.
When I met Uli before the show and I was talking about the pedals, he's like, "Well, I hear you have a wild girl." I'm like, "Yeah, she's a little wild." He's like, "Well, you know, see if she doesn't step on my pedals, please." You know, I'm like, "Dude, we won't even look. We won't even look at her. It'll be like Spinal Tap." Like, oh yeah, I love that. You know, this is the reason why he agreed to it, because he loves Chris Lamore, who's the promoter. And Chris is like, you got to have this band play. And that's really how it was brought to him. And I'm like, Chris, are you sure you want us on? Does he want us on this bill? Oh, he's cool with it. We're the only band on the tour, I think, that opened up for him.
And I think a band like Dress the Dead could open up for, you know, go for a thrash metal band.
Anybody.
Yeah, it's got
anybody
that.
good. We'll play with them.
Very cool. Well, there you go, bands. Hit them up. Hit them up on Facebook, on Instagram, on their website. And anything else you got going on otherwise there, Craig? I know you always got your hands involved in a lot of different stuff.
You know, this is going to be my main focus, man.
Cool.
Yeah, you know, there's talk of Forbidden doing a few shows next year for the 30th anniversary of Twisted Into Form. That's not a reality yet. That's just people telling me that this is going to happen.
Isn't that great when people are telling you what's going to happen?
Yeah, it'll be great. Well, I do every year like clockwork. I get offers for festivals.
Well, you're never going to get that. That's never going to go away. It's never going to go away. Getting offers for.
But I think that would be the time. You know, like if there's time to get everyone together. You know, Paul will be done with Slayer. But you know, the thing about that is Tim Calvert's gone, and that he was important to me and the whole band. And you know, it's just. There's other guys that could do it, but there's no one like Tim.
Yeah.
You know, Tim and I together were a fucking formidable team.
Yeah.
Well, cool. It was a pleasure. I always love talking to Bob. It was cool meeting you.
Yeah, we could meet you too, Craig.
We're shaking hands right now.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We're shaking hands right now with Bob.
Man.
Yeah. Cool, man.
All right, gentlemen.
Thanks, Craig.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
I'm going to go see Violence. That'll have already happened by the
there
time
you
this
go.
goes.
Thank you for listening to the Shockwave Skull Sessions podcast. You can subscribe and listen to all episodes of the Shockwave Skull Sessions podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spreaker, Google Play, and more. Be on the lookout real soon for our new website at www.shockwaveskullsessions.com. Go to our social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube for up-to-date news on the Shockwave Skull Sessions podcast. Email all questions, comments, and suggestions to shockwaveskullsessions@gmail.com.